Hey guys, I hope you're all well. It is a very kind of wet day, wet, cold, windy day here in Australia. I want to do this video with telling you guys a story about one of my inpatient experiences. For a while, it's been in my mind to talk to you guys about different experiences I've had as an inpatient and some of the reasons, that why I didn't go inpatient for the last relapse I had, which was one of the worst. And so yeah, I have one that I'll talk to you about this afternoon when I get back on the camera. Okay, so the first story time I'm going to tell you is from my inpatient experience back in 2010 in a psychiatric facility in Brisbane, where I was on a so-called eating disorders program. Okay, so this particular admission, it was early on in the admission. I was very underweight, still very sick, you might say. Yep, not in a good place physically. This particular admission, they had put us all into dormitories and spread us all out. All the eating disorder patients were spread out, put into dorms with general psychiatric patients as well. So I was in a dorm with about 6 other people, and I've always been really sensitive to sound and to noise. And yeah, back then in this dorm there was a person in the next bed who was an extreme snorer. It was extremely loud and it would go on all night long. So when I was put into this dorm with this person, I started to get no sleep, and this quickly became a very urgent situation for me because my pain condition started to get really bad, and the physical effects of refeeding and stuff, and as well as this I was getting no sleep, and I was starting to get into huge amounts of pain every day because of not being able to sleep at night. So I complained many times to the nurses. No one would help me, no one would do anything about it. They seemed to think that it was just kind of like just a behaviour or a manipulative little eating disorder patient. They're so manipulative. It's almost like you're treated like naughty children. I've said that in a previous video, and it seems like that's the way I was being viewed because I was complaining about this snoring and not being able to sleep. So the next thing that happened was that I became so desperate that I started going into the common room after lights out and sleeping on the couch in there, and I'd drop off to sleep, and then the nurses would come in and do their checks, and they'd wake me up and they'd pull me off the couch and drag me back to my room, and I was pretty much bawling my eyes out every time they did that. This went on for a few nights, and I eventually thought, well, that's not going to work, I'm going to have to hide somewhere. So I started getting up and going to the common room, but I would hide myself as far as I possibly could underneath the couch. And at first they didn't move me, but yeah, after that I was told that it's just not allowed, and they would that's kept on taking me back to my room. So it was miserable. I was in so much pain every day. So it was a pretty desperate situation for me, and I had even complained to my doctor and the head of the unit, and nothing was done. So one night I was so completely distressed that I had a panic attack, and they gave me some Valium. And the next thing I remember is kind of a hazy feeling of being lifted up off my bed and kind of going somewhere, but I was kind of helpless to move. And then I remember waking up, and when I woke up I was in a general hospital, and I had drips running through me into both arms, and I was awake and I was out of pain. So I had been rushed to hospital because when the nurses did their checks and found me in my bed, they checked on me and they couldn't wake me. They had yeah, so they basically overdosed me, and I wasn't waking up no matter what they did, so I was rushed to hospital. And yeah, so when I woke up, and I didn't know what had gone on really, I pretty much just went, what the fuck am I doing here in this hospital bed? It just, and why have I got drips running through me? So yeah, I woke up and thought, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, why aren't I back at the ED clinic? I don't really understand. Anyway, so I pretty much just got up out of the bed and ripped out the drips out of my arms and just got up, and that's something that everyone kind of thought that was a bit crazy, but I felt fine, and I didn't know what I was there for, and I was full of drips, and yeah, so it might have been a little bit reckless, but I was kind of in a bit of a hurry to find out what I was there for, and you know, what had happened. Anyway, at the clinic they weren't able to wake me last night, and that they had taken me into the hospital so that, in an ambulance, so that I could get fluids rushed in and monitor me, and because I was breathing and everything, but yeah, just unconscious. And so I was saying, okay, well, where do I go now? I'm fine. What's going to happen now? I need to get back to the clinic because I'm okay now. And they said, oh, well, we don't know. Do you have anyone that we should call? And I said, well, don't my parents know anything about this? Don't they know that I'm here? Don't they know that I was unconscious and unable to be woken up? And, you know, isn't there anyone that, you know, that why aren't my folks here? They would have been here if they had been told this. So apparently my folks hadn't been told. No one had been called. No relatives, and not even my parents, had been told that I was unconscious and that I had been rushed to hospital. I don't even know, actually, if my doctor, my psychiatrist at the time, knew where I was and what had happened. I think what eventually happened was that someone from the clinic came to the hospital and went back, escorted me back in a taxi cab to the clinic, and when I got back, everyone was just kind of pretending nothing had happened. I passed out unconscious and hadn't been able to be woken up, and they had told nobody that, none of my family had been told what had happened. And, you know, when I look back later, I thought, how fucking negligent. If I had actually died in my sleep and I'd been heavily sedated by the medications, I could have died, and they probably would have passed it off as being my just dying because I was so ill, not because they'd overdosed me. I just couldn't believe the negligence and just the hide, not to notify anybody about about the fact that I was unconscious and had been rushed to hospital as an emergency because I couldn't be woken up. So yeah, that was a pretty scary thing that happened in hospital. I could have died then, and they would have passed it off as just having died from my eating disorder. It's really sick. And that is just one story of the disgusting crap that goes on in an eating disorders clinic. I don't know if anyone else has had a similar experience or not, but that's just one of mine, and I'm going to talk to you about a few others that I've had in these clinics as well. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and if you have any comments or stories to share or whatever it may be, please drop them in the comments below, and I am looking forward to reading them, and see you on my next video.